Hey, this is Rob Swanson with the Real Estate Mogul Show. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So, hey, we just wrapped up session one, or the first half of a two-part series in a big, long show that we did on launching your virtual flipping machine. And so what I am about to do is cut this audio over to the second half of that show. If you listen to last week's show, we covered the first half of the launching process. This show, we're going to dive into the second half and lean heavily into dispositions and getting paid. And so there's going to be a little bit of a just cut into the show as we just kind of went A to B in the first session, and we cut it in the middle. So with all that being said, let's just dive into the second half of the show and get into it.
Dispo.
And this is where people freak out.
Not disco, dispo. But
dispo.
The same shiny twirly ball thing.
Here's the thing. This is what I tell people all the time, Mike. You've heard me say this 1,000 times. You need 3 to 5 people buying 2 to 3 houses a month in a city. 3 to 5 people, 3 to 5 investors buying 2 to 3 deals a month in a market to have a multiple six-figure business.
That's it.
That's it.
You know what's kind of funny is sometimes I'll meet an investor and they brag about they have this 5,000 person buyers list.
Right.
Don't care. You can have you can have 5,000 window shoppers. All you need is what you just said: 3 to 5 buyers.
Yep.
Who buy multiple properties month after month. Game over.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
And here's the thing. You've got to have the right 3 to 5 buyers, right? So going back to leaning in the tech side of dispositions, right? People say, well, I don't know anybody in the city that I've launched in. How am I going to find these buyers? Well, here's a really there's two tricks that I always go to inside of FreedomSoft. The number one trick is sort of the group trick, I'll call it. We use a tool called Zip Finder. We go into the market that you've selected. We run a Zip Finder search, and it finds the zip codes with the hottest activity.
Love that tool.
It's a great tool.
Yeah, killer.
So if you got a lead in a particular zip code, you can go run the Zip Finder search. It will rank all of your zip codes by activity, find the zip code that you're specifically talking about, and you can select that zip code and click the button that says Find Buyers.
Yep.
You immediately click Find Buyers, and you add them to a buyers list in the CRM with a couple of clicks. Now you've got all of the investors, the active buyers that are buying over the last 90, 180, maybe 365 days. Okay? And so you've got a list of investors buying in that location.
And what you just said, let's not go over, these aren't people that bought 10 years ago.
Right.
These are people that bought last 6 months, last 6 to 12 months. So
yeah.
Active buyers, that's key.
And remember what I said is you're looking for 3 to 5 buyers that are buying 2 to 3 deals a month. So, you can go back 90 days, 180 days, a year, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But at the end of the day, if there's a lot of activity happening in an area, if you go back 90 days, maybe 6 months, you're going to find 3 to 5 investors that are buying 2 to 3 deals a month. You're looking for the people that are actively, repeatedly buying. That's the honey hole of buyer that you're looking for.
Yep.
And they're going to be right there in front of you. So you build this list, and then in FreedomSoft, there's a filtering tool that allows you to click filter, and you can filter by buying activity. Show me all of the active investors on this list I just built that are buying greater than 2 houses a month. 3 to 5, 2 to 3. There we go. So we just built the list, and then we apply the filter.
Yep.
And if you were to look at my FreedomSoft account, this is a saved filter that I have inside of my account. I do it so often, it's a saved filter. So when I build the buyer's list, I just immediately click on the filters drop down, click on my save 3-5 2-3 search, and it automatically filters out my buyers. And it shows me the active buyers. Now, that's who I'm going to start with. It doesn't mean I'm going to ignore everybody else, but I'm going to start with, remember, launching a virtual house flipping machine is about doing the easiest thing to get to a payday. We're not trying to do the hard thing, right? Doing the hard thing is always worthwhile. But in this case, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible and do the least hard thing we can to produce the result we want. And so I'm going to run that filter, that search, and then I'm going to skip trace those buyers. I'm going to have my VA research the LLCs, and I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call. And I'm going to specifically call all of those buyers that are buying multiple deals a month. That's how I'm going to turn my buyer list into my VIP buyers. And that's a powerful conversion. Once you figure out, who the investor is and a couple of questions, right? I always go back to this. Once you've got your 3 to 5 buyers buying 2 to 3, here's what you want to know about them. You want to know, what are they buying, where are they buying, and what price are they paying? So what are they buying? What's their buy box? Where are they buying? What geography? And what price are they willing to pay for that type of property? Because once you know the answer to those things, you reverse engineer into the offer you need to make on every deal inside of their geographic area and inside of their buy box. Because now you know they'll buy it from you.
Rob, this is so key.
Yep.
So I ask it a slightly different way. I just say, hey, buyer, how do you run your numbers to know when you're looking at a deal? It's the same question.
Yep.
Imagine the power in this. Let's say Rob's my buyer, and Rob goes, oh, Mike, I take this, and then I, subtract out the fix up and blah, blah, blah. And he tells me his formula that now I'm armed with. Now I'm looking at a potential deal, or I'm talking to a seller, and I can ask the question, I wonder what Rob would be willing to pay for this. Well, he just gave me his math. So I plug in ARV, rents, fix up, whatever.
Yep.
And I say, now I'm analyzing the deal like I'm you, and I come to find out, oh, Rob would be willing to pay $60,000 for this.
Yep.
So if I'm the wholesaler and I'd like to mark it up and get paid, I got to have it under contract at $55,000, $50,000, somewhere in there, right?
Yep.
Give or take. And then I'm talking to the seller, and we're talking about price. So I don't think newer investors get so hung up on, and they play, they fast forward real estate in their head, and they're like, holy crap, how would I know what to offer? How would I even know? What do I do? What's the numbers? I just ran the deal the way Rob would run it. As a wholesaler, I need to be under contract for a little bit less than that, or a lot less, whatever. And then I can mark it up to him and get paid. And there's zero confusion on what your offer price or accepted price needs to be.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
And when you have 3 to 5, we're not talking about 300 to 500. 3 to 5 buyer conversations. And let me just say this, side note. Buyer conversations are some of the easiest conversations you'll have because buyers want to buy.
Yep.
Imagine if you had food and you were talking to hungry people. That would be an easy conversation. It's the same conversation.
Totally.
Hey, buyer, what do buyers do? They buy. What is a buyer's problem? They need more real estate to buy. They've got this capital sitting on the sidelines, and it needs to be in play.
Yep.
And how do they get it in play? They buy real estate. And then you show up and say, hey, I've got deals. That is the easiest conversation you can have because buyers want to buy.
Yep.
And so now, after talking to a couple buyers and saying, how do you crunch the numbers? What's your math? You are now fully equipped to go sell them a deal, 10 deals, 50 deals, right? Depends on how deep their pocket is.
Yep.
But it takes all the confusion out of it. And it doesn't matter. So we've coached a couple people. This is a trip. Multiple in Canada. But I had a student in Israel years ago that I was coaching. She's buying and selling property in the U.S. She would chime in at 2 a.m. to the call. I was doing them at 4 o'clock Denver time. I think it was 2 a.m. Whatever it was. Yep. So when we say virtual, we're not just talking about live in Denver, buy in Colorado Springs. That's an hour away. We're talking about you live in Israel, you want to buy in the States? Virtual. It is not complicated. So I just want to drive home what you just said.
Yep.
It takes away all the confusion. The other thing too that you just blew past is are comps. And you talk about it because you know how to read comps at a 400 level. Mm-hmm. But what the majority of investors do is they go to comps for ARV. And I say you should go to comps for ARV, but that's 101. What Rob just explained, don't miss this. If all the prices are low, it's a rental area, period. If you see a very clear line in the comps, you see low purchase prices and high purchase prices, there's some fix and flip activity going down.
Yep.
Right? And you can know, not only can you know what sort of investor activity is happening, but you can see the two price points.
Yep.
Investor, I see recently sold properties for 35, 40, 28, 7,500, whatever. And I say, okay, what's the difference? Here's where investors are buying. The one that's 7,500 was destroyed. The one that somebody paid $35,000 for was in a little bit better shape. You can see all this. It's one of my favorite topics to teach on is how do we go from reading comps at a 101 level to a 400 level? And yep. I just wanted to highlight it because you went through it because that's how we teach reading comps. But I want people to understand that the property snapshot data in FreedomSoft and looking at the comps will tell you what's the exit strategy on this deal. Not only that, it'll show you where the investors are buying. You'll see a clump of, 42, 35, whatever. If it's a higher price neighborhood, you'll still see a clump and you'll say, hey, I know right here investors are paying between 20 and 40 grand for
yep.
rentals in this neighborhood, and you can see it in 3 seconds.
Exactly.
So there should be no mystery here.
Right.
And that's really what you're pointing to is as we go sort of down this checklist that we're going through, you can live where you want, you can buy and sell where it makes sense, and you can do it without any guesswork.
Yep.
That's what we're driving home.
I was working with a guy yesterday because he's following our virtual flipper process, right? And so he launched 3 markets, and he had leads coming in. It's the 52 leads I was just talking about on the last episode, and 52 leads, and he didn't have a buyer's list, okay? And so he has leads coming in from different areas, and so we just took one of the leads, and we took the address that the seller was interested in selling, and I said, let me show you how to find the buyer for this exact house. And so we went to the lead record in FreedomSoft for that particular lead that just came in off of the direct mail. Address is there on the lead record. We click the property snapshot, and we scroll down to the comps. Okay, there's the comps. And I said, well, let's look at all of the comps that are within a half a mile and that are similar age, similar, type of properties, and that have recently sold, the most recent sales over the last 90 days. And what we did is we clicked the little up arrow on each of those comps, and we opened up a new property snapshot tab for each one of those. And we went and we looked. We went to the first comp, and we said, who bought that? Oh, it's an absentee-owned property. It was bought by an investor. And we scrolled down the snapshot on that comp, and we said, does that investor own any other property? And we looked at their portfolio. And lo and behold, they own 20 other properties in the area. We're like, oh, okay, they're an active buyer. When is the last time they bought? Oh, they bought just last month. Okay, they're actively buying. There's a buyer. And why did we even land on their property snapshot in FreedomSoft? Because it was the closest comp to the deal we were working. The closest recently sold house used as a comp to justify the house of the lead we got in ended up being an active investor who was actively buying and owned a portfolio in the area. Then we went to the next one, property snapshot, and we looked at it and we said, oh, this one's owner occupied. Let's look. Nope, they don't own any other property. But what did they pay? Oh, they paid a higher price. And so we could start to see what was going on in the market and in the area. And, you know, if the first approach using the Zip Finder tool is sort of the shotgun approach to finding buyers, this is the sniper rifle approach to finding buyers, because you're taking a specific lead, popping up the property snapshot, going to the comps, and then using all of the most active comps to actually find the active buyers in the area. So what do you think you do with those? You add those to your opportunity list. You make them a buyer lead, and then you pick up the phone and you call them and you talk to them, just like on the shotgun approach to building your buyers list, on the sniper approach to building your buyers list. You ultimately pick up the phone, you call them, and you talk to them. And to your point, Mike, it's a very easy conversation, because if you're talking to a real buyer, that's like talking to somebody that's hungry at 8:30 at night and hasn't had dinner yet, right? That's an easy conversation if you've got food to give them.
Easy conversation. Yep. I love this, because this is comps 401. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you guys are going into the comps to get a deal sold? Pretty much. I thought you just go to comps for after repaired value.
Right.
That's where it starts.
Right.
And then not only that, but looking at the price point of whatever property you guys were looking up, you could tell what neighborhood grade it is without Google Maps.
Right.
Easy.
Yep.
What's the price point?
Yep.
You see $350,000 houses, you're not in a C- neighborhood. There aren't $350,000 houses in C- neighborhoods. You're in a B area.
Well, let me back
B
you up for a
plus.
second. Let me just say one thing. You could be in a $350,000 neighborhood in cities across the country and be in a C- neighborhood, but that city is not going to meet the qualifications of being an easy profit city. So if you're following our methodology, you're not going to be investing there.
Right.
That's a really,
I made the easy profit city assumption.
Yeah. But people need to get that, because they could be in San Diego, California, right?
Yeah.
And they could be $350,000 C- neighborhood house. That, like, they would drool if they could get that deal, right? And the thing is, San Diego is not going to meet the qualifications of an easy profit city, and therefore you're not going to find that. You're going to be able to anticipate the price point of the house, or the grade of the neighborhood, and therefore the cap rate that investors want to buy at for cash flow based on the price point of the houses.
Yep. You can also tell too if all the price points are low, you're probably not in a B grade area, because you'll typically start to see some fix and flip activity in kind of the C+, B-.
Yep, that's right.
If you are seeing lower prices and higher price points, you likely are in a C+, B-, B grade area.
Yep.
So Google Maps is killer because you can put a visual on it.
Yep.
Having both is ideal, and in the world we live in now, we have both.
Yep.
But you can go into an easy profit city, look at comps only, and you can know exactly what neighborhood grade you're in,
Yep.
how local investors, or out of state, but how investors in this area are making money,
Yep.
the price they're paying, the price they're selling for if they're doing fix and flip. It's all in the comps.
Yep.
That's
Exactly.
400 level comps reading.
And that's the kind of and that's the stuff that through our virtual flipper program, that's the stuff we teach, right? I mean, it's secondhand to us. Like it's just natural. We just look at the comps, and it tells us almost everything we need to know about the exit strategy on a particular lead. A lead comes in, we go look at the comps. The comps tell us neighborhood, exit strategy, who the buyers are, like how we're going to get paid. Like we know everything looking at the comps. Then everything else is sort of filled in. I was working with this guy yesterday, and he doesn't have a real good handle on what's the cost of repairs. And so we looked at this lead that came in, and I said to him two things. Number one, we teach a lot, and we've talked about it on our podcast here on the Real Estate Mogul Show. We've talked about the rule of threes in other episodes. The rule of threes say that everything in real estate, in your typical bread and butter, blue collar investor house, your 900 to 1,500 square feet, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house is rehabbed based on the rule of threes, which means everything is a derivative of $3,000, right? It's either $3,000, $6,000, or $1,500. So everything you're going to rehab in a house is based on the rule of threes. The other way to do it, because he's like, well, I don't know what all the things are that need to be rehabbed. Well, then what do? You go to the repair cost estimator in FreedomSoft. You punch in what the existing property is. You punch in what the house after it's fixed up is going to be. Did you add a bedroom? Did you add a bathroom? Did you do any additional square footage? Did you finish the basement? You put in, maybe 7 questions on what is it, maybe 5 questions on what's it going to be, and then you fill in the address or the city location, city and state, and you click create estimate, and it automatically gives you an estimate based on if it's a rental grade rehab or a fix and flip grade rehab. And so we went through this process yesterday, and we used the rule of threes, and then we quickly went and just ran a repair cost estimate in FreedomSoft. Took us 12 seconds. Click create estimate. What do you know? The rental grade rehab and what we estimated based on the rule of threes, within a couple $1,000.
Same number.
Same number. Hey friends, Rob Swanson here. Let me jump in and talk to you really quick about the Real Estate Mogul Academy. You might be sitting back listening to this and saying, how do I get in proximity with these guys? How do I have these kind of conversations, water cooler, hallway conversations every single day to help me go where I want to go in my real estate investing business? Whether you're just getting started or you're already a seasoned pro trying to elevate and go to that next step, the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be for you. What we'd like to do is offer you a free strategy session where someone from my team will jump on the phone. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and how the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be the right fit for you. If you're saying to yourself, that sounds great, let's do it, go to mogulmembers.com, fill out your name and your contact information, and let's jump on the phone and let's chat. Let's see if we can help you go where you want to go this year. And so what I was showing the guy yesterday is, look, you don't have to know all there is about construction and estimating repairs and all of these things to invest virtually and to actually run accurate, good numbers on real estate deals. So it was a fun way to fill in the gaps and like kind of crush the fears and objections that people have by saying, well, just go use the tool that we built. Like, we've only flipped thousands of houses for a reason, and that reason is to create the experience to build tools that allow someone that doesn't have that experience to get the information, the data, the numbers they need, right? And so that was a cool thing. So if we jump back in here from Mike, okay, you had something to say. I'll let you jump in.
I was just gonna toot the horn of the rehab estimator. I've tried a bunch of rehab estimators.
That's because Mike was an instrumental participant in the building of this, so he's gonna toot the horn of the rehab estimator.
Here's the deal, though,
because it's freaking awesome.
Well, most estimators say,
and he helped build it.
How many 2x4s do you need? What's the price of a 2x4? How many sheets of drywall? How many squares of roofing? And unless you've been a contractor for 5 or 10 years, you're like, what the heck's a square of roofing?
Right.
So we set out to build one that said, Could we build a rehab estimator that somebody with zero, like somebody that can't even spell hammer, that that person could use?
Right.
And that's what we ended up with.
Yeah.
And
it's really cool.
Right. The other thing I was mainly going to say, but I want to get that in there, is especially newer investors think I have to have an exact ARV. I have to have an exact fix-up estimate.
Yep.
I have to have an exact this or that, or there's no way I could feel confident making an offer.
Yep.
And what I want to just communicate is you have to be in the ballpark.
Yeah.
If you tell 3 legit buyers to go look at the same property and then ask them afterwards what's your rehab estimate, you'll get 3 different numbers.
Right.
Because buyers do different things and they do different level of finishes. Right? We all know this, but there are $50 sinks and there are $1,500 sinks. You don't know which one the buyers are going to put in to the property, right? It's not up to you. You're not doing the fix-up on it. What you have to do as a wholesaler is get in the ballpark and then let the buyers go through it, and they will go through the property, and either the buyer themselves will put together the rehab estimate or they'll bring their contractor with them, and they'll talk through the numbers, and they'll say, and what they'll do is if your number is a little over what they would like to pay, they would say, yeah, we would typically redo the flooring in here, but we can get away with this flooring in the kitchen. This will work. And they start to adjust their budget. You just have to be in the ballpark. Stop this mindset that says, I have to have the exact ARV, the exact fix-up number. You'll never have the exact fix-up number.
Right.
Because buyers do different things. So that's all. We got to get in the ballpark.
I'll jump in here, too, because this is where I loved using the rehab estimator, was when I was creating my pitch page. So I had gotten to the point in the process with a wholesale deal where I had, gotten it under contract. One call closed them, got it under contract, basically had my numbers that I thought it was going to be, sent my field rep out there, got pictures. When the pictures came back, I would watch the video and look at the pictures and then start plugging in the numbers on the rehab estimator to get, okay, am I close of what I just offered? And it was almost like you're qualifying what you had just talked about. And so that's where I loved the using it.
Yep. Totally.
Let me give everybody one of the best 3-word scripts in real estate. Based on finishes. Hey, Mike, how much work does the house need? 15 to 23 grand based on finishes. Mike, how much work does it need? 40 to 60 grand based on finishes. And nobody balks at it because every buyer knows construction.
Yep.
And every buyer knows that there are $50 sinks and there are $1,500 sinks.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
Yep.
It's one of the greatest scripts you can do based on finishes.
Well, I think in two episodes ago, we were having a conversation, maybe 3 episodes ago. It was one of the recent ones within the last month. Henry and I were having a conversation about a deal that he flipped right after the first of the year. And his estimate was $10,000 to $15,000 in repair costs.
That's a great example.
His buyer actually post-deal now, deals across the finish line, sent Henry the finished pictures to show him, hey, I bought this wholesale deal from you. I'm now done with the rehab. I'm renting it out at $1,500 a month. Here's what I did. And Henry asked him, what did you put into it for repairs? And he said 30 grand. So Henry estimated 10 to 15, which would have gotten the guy rent ready, rentable.
Yep.
The guy put 30 into it because he wanted to get full, after repaired value. He wanted full rehab, the highest ARV he could get, so that he could get as much money from the lender to pay off the rehab and get as much money back in his pocket.
That's right.
And so that was a buyer making a different investment decision than what we as the wholesaler said is necessary.
Right. And here's Henry's estimate of 15 was correct.
It was.
But it could also be 30.
Yep.
Based on finishes.
Yep.
Right? I'm glad you remember that story. So that's a perfect example.
Totally. So, if we start to put a bow on this, right? We've talked about a couple of ways to find the buyers through a dispositions process. And, we step 5, step 4, which we covered in the last show, was launch your direct mail in 1 to 3 cities. What that does is it starts the process of outbound marketing, because you're going to get inbound leads in a moment. So step 4, outbound marketing. Step 5, Build your virtual buyers list, 3 to 5 buyers buying 2 to 3 deals a month. And we've just talked in this episode about exactly how to go do that. Step 6 is now capture those inbound leads and begin making offers remotely. And remember, the reason we tackled step 5 and 6 together here in this episode is because it's the connection with the buyers and who are they, where are they buying, what are they buying, and what price are they paying that helps you then, step 6, capture those leads with your CRM and virtual automation and make offers and do that remotely. Step 7 is to match your buyers then and assign the contracts or double close. And now there's multiple ways to do this. You can assign contracts, you can double close, you can sell a membership interest in the LLC, you can sell a beneficial interest in a trust. There's multiple ways to sell a deal to a buyer to get you out and a buyer in. One of the things that I think is really cool feature inside of FreedomSoft is our buyer matching tool. And so you're gonna build a list of buyers and you're gonna convert your buyers to VIP. And when you convert your buyers to VIP and they live in your buyer bucket, you can go into their buyer record and you can set up their buy box. What are they looking for? They're looking for single family houses that are 3-bedroom, 1 bath or greater in this area, these zip codes. You can put all the information in. And when you get a lead and a deal that comes in, and so say you've got now 100 buyers in your buyers list, and you get a lead that comes in, you put the address in, and you fill out the record details on your inbound seller lead, and you click the buyer match. Once you're under contract and it's sitting on your property's dashboard, you click the buyer match, and it shows you out of your 100 buyers, which buyers actually match the buy box of this deal. And it gives you the focused target to say, hey, I'm going to call these 12 guys or gals first. This is where I'm going to put my effort and my energy because I've got a perfect buyer match. It's a strong thing. So step 7 in our virtual flipping process is to match your buyers and then assign the contracts or execute a sale in some way. Step 8 is close and get paid, right? That's the goal.
Delicious.
That we're all, that's delicious. That's what we're going for. Step 9 is repeat this 1 to 3 times per market per month. And in an easy profit city, if you go back to the last episode and we talk about the bookends, hyper competitive to hyper oversupplied and then find the sweet spot in the middle, you can ramp that up and close multiple deals pretty easy in an easy profit city. And finally, step 10, once you have the experience in these 1 to 3 virtual markets and you figure out this process of, okay, how do I launch marketing? How do I get a lead? How do I use the tools at my disposal to find the buyers quickly, match the buyer up and get paid? You can then scale in step 10 by launching our pay-per-lead model and scale nationwide, because now the entire country becomes your oyster. You can take the hottest leads off of a pay-per-lead model anywhere in the country, get on the phone, make that offer, use the tools, find the buyer, flip that contract, and you can do it over and over and over again. That's how you can scale. Now, we loop that all the way back and we say, why are we in the 3 markets then? Well, because as you scale and generate more and more cash, you're going to want to have a market or 2 or 3 where you're actually building your long-term cash flow and portfolio. So the anchor of your business always rests in those first 3 virtual markets. Now, you can change them. One of the beautiful things about being an entrepreneur is that you can make a decision today and you can change it tomorrow. So if you decide to go into a new market, it's always as easy as 1, 2, 3. You can do that easily. But that's why you're going to go into and build your business foundationally with relationships in a particular market, and so that you can start to build your portfolio and cash flow. That's what creates financial freedom. So, Mike, I think we're about wrapped up on this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this topic. You know, two episodes here, but 10 steps. The other thing too that I wanted to add, not only because you're talking about you can do this remote and virtually, you can do it confidently remote without having ever set foot. I mean, even if you can't spell Cincinnati, or whatever, and that's where you choose to launch, or one of the markets, having never been there, you don't know a single person. You can not just go in and sort of flounder or find your way. Right, like walking around a room with the lights out. That's not it. You can go in full confidence, because what we talked about with the comps and the lists you can build, you can see exactly what the buyers are doing. And guess what? They're doing something similar to the other easy market city you're doing in. And guess what? They're doing something to the easy market city you're going to be in 6 months. And the price points are relatively similar. And you just go one market to the next, find a market that fits, and you're immediately not just in the game, you're confidently in the game, speaking the locals' language, because you know what the language is. The data tells you. So, I love the fact that there's no guesswork here. There's nothing blind about being remote at all. It's exactly the opposite of that.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us on this one. If you like this, do us a solid and give us a thumbs up. Like this video, share it with your friends, and let others know about it. We'll keep coming back and walking you through our process and giving you more value. So for Rob Swanson and the crew here on the Real Estate Mogul Show, that's another one in the books. That's a wrap. We'll see you. Hey friends, Rob Swanson here. Let me jump in and talk to you really quick about the Real Estate Mogul Academy. You might be sitting back listening to this and saying, how do I get in proximity with these guys? How do I have these kind of conversations, water cooler, hallway conversations every single day to help me go where I want to go in my real estate investing business? Whether you're just getting started or you're already a seasoned pro trying to elevate and go to that next step, the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be for you. What we'd like to do is offer you a free strategy session where someone from my team will jump on the phone. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and how the Real Estate Mogul Academy might be the right fit for you. If you're saying to yourself, that sounds great, let's do it, go to mogulmembers.com, fill out your name and your contact information, and let's jump on the phone and let's chat. Let's see if we can help you go where you want to go this year.